Good afternoon. It's 1 o'clock and time for the St. John Daily Word. I'm Pastor Ron Genaro, and I welcome you today. I have several announcements for you. We did have silver sneakers this afternoon, this morning at 11 a.m. They met in the fellowship hall. They meet every Tuesday and Thursday in the fellowship hall. And so we invite you to come and be a part of that. Bible study on Tuesdays with Pastor Ron is at 1 o'clock in the sanctuary as well as online. We are studying Genesis, the book of beginnings. Currently we're working through now the Isaac and Rebekah and Esau and Jacob's part of the story. And it's shifting over to Jacob now, actually. And so we'll be doing that next week. Parkway Food Ministry, we kind of let you know about this all the time. Non-perishables, peanut butter, canned goods, and cereal. There's a donation box in the narthex, and we ask that you would leave the food items there, and we'll make sure that they are delivered. Faith and Fellowship with Pastor Dorman meets on Wednesdays at 11 a.m. in the Education Building. It's a brown bag small group for your faith, fellowship, support, and prayer life. And then Theology 101, also with Pastor Dorman, meets after the 9:30 service in the fellowship hall. And they're working on theology, basics of theology from a Wesleyan perspective, which is a Methodist perspective. And so we encourage you to come and be a part of that. Fellowship dinners are the first and third Friday of the month. And the next one is February 7th at 5:30 p.m. in the fellowship hall. Also, the Ladies' First Friday Fellowship will also be Friday, February 7th at 10 a.m. in the fellowship hall, open to all of the ladies and their friends. And then, and that's the first Friday of the month. Charity Crafters also meets right after that at 12:30 in the fellowship hall. These are crafty, and they said all crafty and non-crafty folks are welcome. And they're going to live up to their name as Charity Crafters. What they will be doing is they work as a they're making things to donate to other folks who can then use them for their ministries. Trustees will be meeting on Monday, February 3rd at 10 a.m. in the Education Building. We ask that all of the trustees, current trustees and new trustees would be available for that meeting on Monday, February 3rd at 10 a.m. Our devotional today is from Psalm 71, verses 1 through 6, and I'll read all 6 verses and then comment on it. Psalm 71, verses 1 through 6. In you, O Lord, I take refuge. Let me never be put to shame. In your righteousness, deliver me and rescue me. Incline your ear to me and save me. Be to me a rock of refuge, a strong fortress to save me, for you are my rock and my fortress. Rescue me, O God, from the hand of the wicked, from the grasp of the unjust and cruel. For you, O Lord, are my hope, my trust, O Lord, from my youth. Upon you I have leaned from my birth. It was you who took me from my mother's womb. My praise is continually of you. What this psalmist is writing here, what the psalmist is writing here is how our hope and our trust, it has to be in God. That it is God who is the one who redeems us. It is God who is the one who protects us. It is God who we hide in when we are in trouble. You know, when I was a kid, if I did something wrong, if my mom got upset with me, I could always count on what she would say, and that was this: wait till your father gets home. And those were the most dreaded words that she would say. And because I knew what that meant. He did not suffer us doing things lightly or poorly. And so if that happened to me, there was only one person I could go to help me, because there was only one person my father feared. And that was his mother, my grandmother. And I would just lickety-split get to her, and I would say, I messed up if I had done something wrong, or I would tell, something happened. Sometimes my mother, I think, overreacted, and I would try to get my grandmother on my side to defend me. And on more than one occasion, when my dad got home, and You have to understand our family dynamics in that situation. This is where my grandmother and my grandfather were, that we had what was called a two-family house. And we wound up with 4 generations living in that house. My great-grandfather was in a basement apartment, a half-finished basement apartment. My grandparents were on the first floor in an apartment that they had. And then we had the upstairs, which was also an apartment, and separate entrances and all of those kinds of things. And so we were up there. But my dad had to go through my grandmother's place to get to the house. And if I warned her that I was in trouble, she would talk to my father and calm the situation down. Whew. She rescued me a whole lot of times. I loved my grandmother. I still love my grandmother. She's been gone for a number of years. But some of the good in me and some of the bad in me, I know that I got it from my grandmother. And I know that. But she was one who wanted to protect her grandchildren. She loved us and was willing to do anything to keep us safe and encourage us and to have us grow and all those kinds of things. What the psalmist is talking about is of a God who looks out after us, who is our rock and our fortress and our stronghold. This reminds me of several other psalms that have similar type of language. Psalm 46 comes to mind, where we go and we find relief, we find hope, we find that God protects us. And that's what I hope you're experiencing today. It's a rough world that we live in. Things are just, evil is among us. It's in our community. It's in all the communities of our own nation and in other places in the world as well. And it's a scary time. But I'll tell you what, it's always been a scary time. And what I will also tell you, always God is intervening. And God is watching out for us. And I have that sense. I am hopeful. I'm hopeful in this community that we as a church, as we continue to teach and introduce people, teach about and then introduce people to this life-affirming and life-giving faith and hope that we find in Jesus, that'll make all the difference in the world. Because for me and for you, I want us always to know that God does indeed love us, that this church, which represents God's love in this community, that we love you, and that I love you as your pastor. God bless you. Have a great day, and we will see you on Sunday morning for worship services. Bye now.